So going into the final game of Beachhead 2025, and it's sort of a an uninspiring 2-2, 1-2 lost to track record, puts me kind of slightly, I guess, below mid-table, and it's another medieval army with war wagons. This is a very big wagon, but it's actually a 3D print, and it's a 15mm figure. I'm not quite sure what's happened to his face. I think that's a trick of the light. Hopefully, that guy there, looking at it. That guy looks a bit weirdly like an orc, doesn't he? But I think, again, that's just a trick of the light. That's a metal face, and that looks like it's much better painted than it actually is. So with a Hussite flag. So that's a bit of a clue for what the army is that we're facing here. It is the Hussites, and there's only one way for Hussites to fight when they're against something as stodgy and pokey as an army like this. They find themselves a nice safe corner with a steep hill. They set themselves up with their artillery, with their wagons that shoot, with all their fortifications. Everything's kind of ready. These are going to flip out and cover the edge, and it's basically going to be down to, can I assault Mr. Fry's wonderfully painted, which you'll see many pictures of soon to come, Hussite army with its hammer and anvil time, really. And I guess the key point is the anvil here is made largely out of wood, which is not great for them, but it does have artillery, which is not great for the hammer either, really, because it can reach out and have a crack at the hammer before it gets even close, and included generals, all sorts of stuff there. So let's have a look at this. I think the Hussite army is there's got to be a decent army in there, and it's really, what do you do? Do you go big on wagons? Do you go mega big? Do you not? It's a difficult one. I think everybody thinks there's possibly something there, and it's probably worth everyone giving it a go at some point. So the way Mark had put this together, fortifications and obstacles, you may as well have them because you've got war wagons, so anyone can dismount against you anyway. That just makes it a little bit tougher, although I don't believe the wagons get the benefit for it. A wagon with a brilliant general and artillery, that's kitchen sink time, isn't it, for sure. Another heavy artillery piece that's going to cram in the middle and shoot at distance. A wagon with crossbows, 2 light foot bow, 4 heavy foot polearm, 2 heavy infantry spear. Now, I think in this army they were set up almost as a second line. So whilst this looks tough, it is still only 3 units. So you lose those 3, you're nowhere near fighting the army. But I think the theory is, you're nowhere near losing the army. But I think the theory is these do enough damage to you that by the time you get through them, the second wave just steps forward and hammers you and crushes you, which is a fascinating way of looking at playing it. Then a sort of pseudo, not quite an allied command, but something that works on its own. 3 heavy knight impact, 2 light foot crossbow, and included commander, and they dismounted against me with my elephants. And then on the right hand side, as we're looking at it in this picture, a wagon with a gun with a general again, another wagon with crossbows. So there's only 4 wagons in this one, and then 2 sling and the 4 impetuous levy that I think are again a sort of second wave in there to come steaming through if need be. So here's my colourful army going forwards against Mark's colourful army. You can see these were the 3 knights that have dismounted as sort of the super heavy foot in old school money. You've got the skirmish screen out there. These wagons haven't quite flipped out yet, but they're going to be doing so. And these guys are just waiting. What I'm really trying to do here is weave a careful path for these elephants to avoid being shot at by this artillery or this artillery piece here. This one's not deployed yet, so they need to kind of get close enough so that they're in the 1 base width arc, which is the width of this, and not get shot within the 2 base width arc. So they're just about managing it to avoid being shot by the heavy artillery. The Thracians can take a bit of the punishment, these can absorb a bit of the punishment, but I want my elephants intact to go in, to ignore the stakes, to go into these dismounted knights who are very dangerous to my pikemen, and the rest of my army is going to drift across. And in this one, the cavalry have kind of moved up from a flank position. They're not going to get down there before the wagons deploy. So I've just put them in as a kind of reserve so that I think they may well end up punching through here and looking at, see if there's anything worth having a punt at. And it's just how quickly can I get in without getting shot up, because the artillery here and here have the ability to ignore my light foot and just shoot at whatever's behind it. So their aim is to try and cause as many hits on as many different units as they can, My aim is to get in before that actually happens. And here we go. Yeah, the wagons are starting to deploy out, starting to spread out and get ready to form the line. Means these cavalry would have been useless. My pikemen are looking at it in fascination as they drift sideways to try and make a chance to just assault these wagons and try something new. Some of them might be Alexander's veterans and they've been halfway around the world, but this is still something new for them. So here we go. We've got the elephants getting really close to the dismounted foot. And what I've done now that they're a bit closer, they can drift slightly over to the side without risking getting shot by the artillery. And it's created a bit of a gap for the Zeiss to come through and think about whether it's worth having a charge at these dismounted knights. The dismounted knights are factor 1. I'm factor 1 against them because of impact. I do have Furious Charge that negates their armor in the first turn. It could blow a big hole in them, take out a general as well. So it's probably worth a punt. And the rest of my army is going to get into a grinding combat. So the opportunity to do something, I've got spares here really behind it, might be worth giving it a go. And here we go. This is sort of exactly what happens in a kind of slightly over risky thing. So the elephants actually in the end up sliding to the right as well, going into this line of 3 dismounted knights. I put both elephants in. I put the Zeiss in, even though they're going to get a minus from the elephant. I just thought they need to support the elephants. I've got a bonus here through the overlap as well that's gone in. So this is like the point, the apex of the defensive line. These are all the impetuous levy at the back, waiting to be a line of reserve. So slamming into this with as much as I can, as quickly as I can. And the important thing here is these haven't taken any shooting casualties on the way in. That was my main aim, get them into combat with something as quickly as possible without taking any hits, and that's been achieved. And some wonderful little Pavises defenses over there to see that these guys are starting to get boggled at as they get closer. And let's have a look what happens. Well, somebody does well. That looks like 2 hits on this guy. There's actually 2 Roman hits for some reason, but there's a yellow there. That one's taken 2 hits, and as he's dismounted, that's nearly dead. They only take 3 hits when they're dismounted. They retain the same number of hit points as when they were when they were knights. And my general's just urging them all forwards, pushing people up into nearly into combat, just to try and push through and break through here in this bit. And over here, you've got the Thracians. They've got the unlucky job of rushing as fast as they can towards the wagons and the artillery, and they've got close enough to charge it now, which has prompted the Hussites to send through something I'd not really thought through, send through their line of spears and polearm guys. So that's another thing that can happen. You can interpenetrate wagons or artillery with foot very easily. So that second wave, I was thinking, do they stand and die and then come through? But the other thing is just to chuck them straight out the front when it gets a bit scary and fight with these guys first. So all some different ways to play this army, but you've got to get the timing right. And again, the important thing is that the artillery's been very ineffective. It's missed every time it's shot. There's nothing really happening here. No real damage has been taken that's going to cause them too many problems. These are decent quality troops. They are better. They're more dense than these guys. They're more resilient. But I've got so much pressure putting on the right hand side. I'm sort of not fighting this bit in a way. And here you can see a mixed fortune really for the 3 dismounted knights. Looks like the elephant has won, killed some knights, done a load of damage to people behind. Their general, however, has won. He's come forwards, killing off the other elephant, the one who'd taken 2 hits to start with. Look at that ferocious cry there under his big mustache. And my Zeiss is still fighting manly against the other guys, against the other dismounted knights, as the pikemen rush to race up. And some of the impetuous foot have come to form an overlap as well. So I'm going to have to go in and deal with the risk of losing to rubbish really, in terms of impetuous levy. So what's happening over here? The Thracians, the rest of the pikemen, have gone in and attacked this line of spearmen and polearm guys who've come through their wagons. Again, means we get a decent view of some of these more hand-painted flags and Pavises and stuff like that. They're just very grateful that big gun's not done any damage. This huge trebuchet's not been manned by monks, it would appear. Has not done too much damage, but with having knocked out the foot knight there, that's allowed my elephant, another pikeman, to get through and get into that sort of second wave, get into the spearmen, get into the polearm guys, and I think there's some hit markers hitting there. This line of pikemen, 3-4 pikemen, is about ready to go in here, and as you can see, they've been advancing because these guys are struggling to deploy out quickly enough. They've not been able to do too much shooting, and that shooting's been ineffectual so far. And I've sent in yet another Zeistafore. He's gone into the levy. That should be pretty squishy, and the generals are urging them all forwards as the fight kind of goes on to break through the centre whilst engaging both of these wings of my army and keeping slightly part of the Hussites out of the game. So what happens here, the end of the line, I haven't really got anything at all. I've just got javelin men who were just, flicking the V's, mooning, swearing at the end of the line. It looks like the Hussite infantry have tried to charge them away. The javelin men have rolled short. Shouldn't have been so cocky, really, and got caught. They take a hit if they're caught while evading, and that's left a bit of a problem because it may well be another Thracian dead there. And these polearm guys have moved forwards, ready to run into the flank of my Thracians. But again, winning here would have been a nice to have. But if it doesn't happen, the game for me is being fought over to the right hand side. And here it is, right in the middle. You've got 3 hits with a red, I suspect, in this guy. The pikemen are fighting this wagon that's taken a couple. Again, an interesting formation here. Because the spearmen have come forward, when this guy goes in to fight the wagon is always getting an overlap here, because there's a gap actually where these things in. The wagon always overlaps. I can never do anything about that, really. And it looks like my pikemen are taking a couple of hits, but the other guys are taking hits as well. Is that a 2 hit in there or something like that? 1 hit there, yellows. This guy is still fighting manfully. He's still locked in combat. That's still making it very difficult for him to do anything else. But the cavalry are pushing forward. We've blown away the first wave of crazy religious peasants there. Some of the spearmen are rushing to try and fill this gap that looks like it could have an elephant in it pretty soon. And again, interestingly, my light troops here are doing what light troops do. You saw them in the first part of the battle where they were screening, blocking off the enemy's skirmishers, trying to screen my own troops from shooting. They then retreat through my lines as combat gets joined, and then little pockets of light troops come back in and start harassing the flanks of the enemy, acting as overlaps where I've got spare pips to come back in little penny packets and join in the edges of combat, which is again, once I kind of clocked that was happening, I always thought, yeah, this is a proper historical thing. They get out front, they do their stuff, they run away, and then when the battle starts to break down, they come back and add their little weight to try and tip the scales even further. And boom, there you go. That's the rampant elephant. It's gone straight through, taken out another second unit of heavy infantry, puts these guys in a whole world of pain, puts the war wagon in a sort of more of a world of pain. And finally, you can see that this dismounted general is just about starting to lose. These guys look like they've pushed back or gone through another wave of troops. Is that true? Oh no, sorry, that was where they were fighting before. These guys are still fighting, but as the elephant pushes forward, it creates more of these opportunities for little overlaps to appear and put more pressure on those and get into this kind of squishy stuff. So, yep, there he goes. That's 3 hits, and he's rolled a 1. So he falls off well, it would have been his horse, but he's sent it to the rear. He drops that enormous great flag, and that little commander is gone. This command is now in a lot of problems. I've got these 2 dangerous Zeistafore exactly where they want to be, potentially fighting against Levy in the open. I've got more pikemen coming through. The elephant's sort of unopposed. No one's going to be stopping him now. I've got all these light troops ready to support, and I've got the strategists there ready directing them as well. So lots of pressure. Bold attack by the Zeistafore and these guys in the middle. It's taken a while to pay off, but suddenly it's starting to pay off very, very quickly. And look, there he goes, being lifted out by the hand of Mark. And here into the flank, it looks as if possibly this wagon didn't even manage to deploy out. So I've managed to get in with a big solid line. These aren't doing so well. The spearmen have taken 3 hits. The pikemen, even elite, have taken 2 against a wagon that's only taken 1. Or no, maybe, no, sorry, that's the Lightfoot. This wagon has taken 2 as well, with the yellow hit there. But again, punching that hole through that one starts to create problems, particularly for the levy, who are the squishy bit as well. And sheer sort of weight of numbers, and pike being particularly effective against wagons is starting to really tell. And that was the point at which, led by the spear point of the Zeistafori, the Lysimachid army turned over and finally finished off the Hussites in this battle. And let's have a look what that did. So I was on 2-2, sort of languishing mid-table after the second game. I was on 1-2 after 2 games, but 2 wins on the Sunday had a sort of near miraculous effect. Probably about 160, 170 points in those 2 wins. Very, very tight here. You can look at that 2-9. Ian Speed, way out ahead. He'd probably won with a game to spare, I suspect. But looking at this 299 there in second place, 281, 17-point swing down to 7th, down to mid-table. So very, very tight there. A lot of people on very, very similar points, but just pushing through and winning and ending up with a very, very surprising second place that I wasn't really expecting at all. Richard's Walkers, the Pyrrhic army beat me. I beat Don's army. Will's army beat me, the Carthaginians. Kevin, I turned over, and Mark 199, 299. That difference there means that Mark ends up sort of quite low down the table, where that could have been almost reversed. And a very, very surprising second place for the pikemen of the early successor Lysimachid and Seleucus alliance at Ipsos. So I hope you enjoyed that, and look out for more battle reports when I write some more up.